Hi, everybody. My name is Jowanna, and I'm with Internet Radio Organization. I am the owner and founder of IRO, and we work with businesses to help them create podcasts. Today, I'm here to tell you guys a love story, and not just any typical boring cliche love story, but a real love story. And it doesn't have to do with a girl meeting a boy and getting her heart broken. It has to do with a girl, a car, and a lot of music. So back in 2002, I graduated college, was trying to figure out what I was doing with my life. But every Friday, I'd get in my car and just drive around listening to music that I had found from bands in the local area. And the best part about growing up in LA is I can have friends who love music as much as I did. And they had bands and I had bands, and none of those bands intersected. So I had a wealth of information at my fingertips and a ton of music. But the thing I couldn't understand was, here were all these great bands, but nobody was playing them on the radio. You'd get the locals only show on Sunday, but the rest of the week you weren't hearing these bands, and they were really good. So I decided that that wasn't really fair, and I was gonna do something about it. So I created a podcast called Screw Pop Culture. And Screw Pop Culture was a music podcast that was supposed to highlight LA music bands. And it was going to be amazing in my head. So what I did was what anybody would do. I emailed a bunch of bands. And this is when MySpace was a thing. So I was sending them messages and I was honest with them and said, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to start this podcast and I'm going to play bands. And I'd like to play your music. And the bands obliged and sent me a ton of music. Now, I'd love to tell you that that first episode was amazing and I knocked it out the park. But in all honesty, it took me 2 hours to record a 30-minute podcast that had 6 songs in it. And it was terrible. But it started something. It started a chain reaction. And a year later, we went from having a 30-minute show to a full 24/7 streaming online radio station, Radio KSCR, to putting on music video festivals where we were renting out at movie theaters to show music videos from bands, and award shows and music video scavenger hunts and anything that I could come up with. But the start was setting up that podcast because I loved music. And I'm here to tell you that if you've got something that you're excited about, that you want to do, now's the time to do it. There is nothing stopping you. And I'm going to talk about 5 tips to help get you started. So I'm not going to just push you out there and say, you can do it. Good luck. No, we're going to go and walk through some of the steps that I took, how I made adjustments, and where we're at today. So step 1, we're going to talk about reverse engineering your project. For me, when I did the podcast, I knew I wanted to do a podcast. I didn't know anything about podcasting. And at that time, no one had podcasts. So I really couldn't figure out how to do a podcast. But Apple Podcasts was incredibly helpful. And there were a few people out there doing podcasts that you could find information. So you just information dug. When I did the music video festival, I knew I wanted to watch a music video in the movie theater, but I didn't know how to do it. So I started with the end product. I wanted an award show. I wanted to watch music videos in a theater, and I worked my way backwards. When I did my award show, I knew that I wanted to walk on a stage, hand out trophies to an artist for something. So I started with the stage and said, okay, I need to find a venue. So I found the venue. And then I said, okay, I need to get trophies. Then I need to find an artist to give an award to for something. So once I started at the end and worked it backwards, it wasn't as daunting as starting with something as big as I want to have an award show. Telling yourself that you want to do something sometimes is so overwhelming that it is incredibly hard to get started. But if you can envision the end of it, then we're going somewhere, because now you can reverse engineer to figure out how you started from the end to get to the beginning. So I want to just take 1 second for you guys to all take a moment and think about where you want to be. Think about that book that you want to write. Think about that business that you want to start. Think about that project that you've always thought of doing and never got done. I want you to close your eyes and reverse engineer it. Think about the end product and figure out how you're going to get there in baby steps. Don't think about writing the full book. Think about the last page. Think about the cover and go that route. So I just want you to take like 20 seconds to do that, okay? Take a moment, think about the end, and start reverse engineering. Now, the next thing I want to do is let's talk about research. We are in an information age, and it is glorious. There is nothing better than the fact that we have everything at our fingertips. If you want to learn how to make candy and be a candy store owner, there are videos about that. You can go on YouTube, you can go on Craftsy. There's all kinds of stuff to teach you how to make candy. You want to write a book? There are so many coaches out there to teach you how to write a book. You want to do a podcast? Flip the mic on. There are people out there who are going to give you a template and say, here is the structure to podcasting. This is how it's done. You want to be a rock star and you can't figure out how to play a guitar? There are classes for that. We're at an age now where we don't need to reinvent the wheel. Find somebody who did something similar to what you did and ask them questions. Read their book. Don't reinvent the wheel. They tore their hair out figuring out what to do. Take their information, tailor it to you, and make it work for you. You've got this. This is amazing. Do the research. But in the process of doing the research, don't get what everybody calls analysis paralysis, where you spent so much time researching that you're stuck. Do the research. When you start to feel overwhelmed, stop researching, start moving forward. Don't get stuck in the research stage. It's an important stage, but it's not the end stage. So make it happen. You've got that. The next step is, in my opinion, the most fun step. And that step 3 is, I call it plan for the apocalypse. And I am not talking a minor inconvenience. Plan for the apocalypse. We are talking Sharknado, volcano in the middle of like LA, every disaster movie you've ever seen, plan for that. Let's be honest, COVID threw us all a curveball. It threw us all a curveball. Even if you saw it coming and were following the news and knew something was happening in China back in December, you still didn't know the effect it was really going to have on you until it had it. So you need to plan for that. You plan for the worst case scenario, but you also need to plan for the best case scenario. There's so many people that I've talked to who don't know how to handle success. They get to a point where they've planned for the worst and it turned out better than they could have ever expected. And now they're sitting there wondering what to do next because they didn't plan for that. They planned for things to go wrong. So you need to make the plan for when things go wrong, but you also need to plan for when things go right. And like I said, this is the most fun because this is where you get to sit back, spend Saturday watching these bad movies on Sci-Fi Channel where there's a Sharknado and ask yourself, okay, if I was in LA during Sharknado 1, how would my business have survived this? During the big earthquake, how would my business survive this? During COVID, how is my business surviving this? Now, step 3 leads right into step 4, which is make adjustments. COVID threw a loop on everybody. And COVID did a number on a lot of businesses that people expected to be around forever. And the reason for that is because people don't know how to adjust. And then as an entrepreneur, as a life coach, as an author, as anything, you are in a unique position to be able to take a step back and look around and make adjustments. Because when all is said and done, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Oh my God, you fail. What? You're not doing it anyway. So even if you do it and you fail, you just get to start back at square one. But you're not starting at square one where you don't know what you're doing. You're starting at square one where now you've got 6 months of information about what did not go your way. You've got 6 months of information of, hey, so this worked, but this didn't, but this worked and this didn't, and I need to figure out how to adjust. Think about health clubs and health clubs versus personal trainers during COVID. What happened? Health clubs are not doing good. 24-hour fitness filed for bankruptcy. 24-hour fitness wasn't doing good before COVID, but when COVID happened, 24-hour fitness couldn't even function. They couldn't handle. They shut down. It was supposed to be for 2 weeks. They never opened back up. They couldn't adjust. But the personal trainer down the street who was already struggling and was working with people in 24-hour fitness, helping them meet their personal fitness goals, all of a sudden had an opportunity because he didn't have to go to the gym. He told them, hey, look, we can't meet in person, but we can meet over Zoom. So I'm going to do our personal training over Zoom. And then when we could go outside, hey, I'm going to meet you at the park and we're going to do our training at the park. I'm going to make meal prep for you over there. Yes, you can't get flour or yeast because that turned into a thing that everybody wanted to make during this COVID. But it was like, okay, well, we can't make bread. Let's learn how to make something else. How many people started baking during COVID? How many people started bakeries in their homes during COVID? You make adjustments. You zig where you should have zagged. You figure it out and then you adjust. And that is the point. That's the part where companies are in such a unique position. Entrepreneurs are in a unique position. We don't start at the top. We start at the bottom. Most of us claw and scratch our way up. So for us to make adjustments and to turn direction a little bit, we've done it already. You're an author. You have a book. You've got a template for a book. And all of a sudden you realize that everything that you had researched doesn't exactly add up anymore. Well, that's okay. Take that book that you have, make the adjustments. Acknowledge halfway through the book, hey, this is where we were at, and now this is where we're going. And the rest of the book is focused on that adjustment. You've got this. There is nothing that we can't do out there. We're amazing people. We're amazing people, and we prove it every day. How many kids are paying for their parents' mortgages by opening up boxes of toys and playing with them? Who would have ever thought that that would have been a business? Who would have ever thought that would have been a business that an 8-year-old had mastered? That's almost heartbreaking, isn't it? When you think about it, there's an 8-year-old making millions of dollars doing nothing but being an 8-year-old, playing with toys on YouTube. And he gets toys and money? We're at a point now where you can make anything a business. If you love to do something, figure out how to make money at it. It's there. You're talented. If you can crochet, do you know how much people are paying for scarves made with really nice fabric? A lot of money. Just go on Etsy. People paint rocks. They put them on Etsy. People buy them. Make the adjustments. You've got this. Now that I've given you these steps, let's talk about the biggest step of all. And this is step 5. Step 5 is set a date and stick to it. Decide that you want to do something. When I started my podcast, I decided that I was going to do my first episode July 3rd. I don't even know why. July 3rd just seemed like a good day. And I said, okay, that's the first day of the episode. Episode 1's going to be July 3rd. So July 2nd, July 1st, June 30th, I was researching, trying to make that first show. But July 3rd, that episode happened. You put that episode on the calendar, you circle it in red, and you tell yourself, this is it. This is my time. This is when I'm going to make this happen. This is the day that I start the book, or this is the day that I end the book. This is the day that I announce that I'm going to start my business. This is the day for the event. You make it happen. The best part about having a date on the calendar is that it sets a deadline for you. Now you look at that calendar, and every time you look at July 3rd, you think to yourself, I've got something to do that day. I need to get ready for that. You think to yourself, I've got a date. I've got to figure out how to make this happen by that date. And that's going to do one of two things. For you procrastinators out there, that is going to be the fire that gets you going. The closer that day comes, you are going to have a sense of dread, or your heart is going to race every time you see that date pop up. And that is going to be exciting. And you are eventually going to get moving on it, because that date will come and go. And you are going to look at yourself and feel some kind of way if you put that date on the calendar and you haven't done anything. Put a date, stick to it. You've got this. This is your business. This is your passion. This is your hobby. This is what you are here to do. There's no reason why you can't do it. Don't let anybody tell you can't. We live in an age where everything is possible. Absolutely everything is possible. That's kind of what makes it amazing. So get out there and write your book. Start your podcast. Go on YouTube, create a channel. And it's okay if you don't know what you're doing. No one does. That's kind of the fun part about all of this. We're all just making it up as we go along anyway. So why do you need to stick to your rules? Why do you need to stick to their rules? You can be an adult opening gifts in front of YouTube videos and playing with toys. There's a whole section of YouTube that gets a little dark that has it. Guys playing with My Little Ponies. It's a little weird, but they've made a living out of it. That's their hobby. That's what they want to do. You like playing Uno? Start an Uno game and play it online. Write that book. Your future is in your hands. Or better yet, your present is in your hands. No one is stopping you from doing anything. And the kids, the husband, the career that you already have that you kind of hate, all that's an excuse. If you really want to do it, you're going to find the time. You're going to make the time. And what you're going to find is that you're going to have way more people behind you than you expect. Nothing better than the silent heroes who are actually pushing for you to move forward, who, when you get that first podcast out, they're like, dude, this is bad, but I'm okay with it. Like, I'm 100% behind her. I like what she's doing here. I like that she's trying. I'm subscribing to this because I'm going to support that. She told a good story. I love her book. I need to follow this artist. I need to follow this author. I'm going to follow and get the next book she makes. You know, that coach, she said a lot of stuff on YouTube, and I'm 100% behind what she says. I am subscribing. And eventually she's going to create a course and I'm going to take it. There are a million people out there who are willing and ready to support you. So get out there and support yourself. Let people get excited about what you're doing. Get started for everyone's sake. Because let's be honest, I want to hear your podcast. I want to read your book. I want to get excited when you get on YouTube and talk about how you've lost weight or how you had an eating disorder and gained weight. I want to hear about how you created the next D&D, or how your band all of a sudden decided they're making music for movies instead of trying to get signed to a label. Let us get excited for you and figure out a way for you to get excited for yourself. Put that date in the calendar. Stick to it. Let's make it happen, guys. Thank you so much for listening to my speech. I hope you guys are pumped. I hope you guys are ready to go. My name's Jowanna. I'm, again, the owner and founder of Internet Radio Organization. I would love to have you guys reach out to me. Please find me online at internetradioorganization.com or email me at info@internetradio.organization. I'd love to help you start your podcast, your videos, whatever you need done. Again, thanks so much for listening.